A new day, during which the beautiful Precious is determined to make her dreams come true and achieve her goals. Precious has just finished assembling a magnificent, chestnut-colored wig, which one of her best customers ordered. She is about to go and deliver it to Lekki, one of the richest neighborhoods in Lagos. Precious is a 20-year-old young woman, studying at the largest public university in Lagos, preparing for her bachelor's degree. But Precious has big ambitions. She plans to continue her studies in the United States and continue her wig business, which could earn her a lot of money, and perhaps even make her a multimillionaire. Because indeed, Precious dreams of becoming a multimillionaire in dollars. She dreams of an American-style success story, like those of the many influencers she follows on social media, who have managed to build an empire, starting from nothing, simply thanks to their determination. Precious believes it, and knows it's possible. Arrived in Lekki, at the home of his client, a multimillionaire woman in dollars, who made her fortune in fashion, and who owns several luxury women's clothing stores in several African countries, in France, and even in the USA. Precious, I encourage you a lot because you are very combative and determined to succeed. I own wigs of big brands that are worth up to more than $50,000. But despite that, I still want to buy the wigs that you make, to give you the recipe and motivate you not to give up. Because as I already told you, I am very rich today, but I started working as a plate washer in a big restaurant in Los Angeles. Yes, madam, you told me about your modest beginnings. And I want to tell you that you motivate me a lot, especially when I see all the luxury that there is in your magnificent villa, and all your expensive luxury cars. It motivates me enormously, madam. I thank you for this warm welcome every time I come to your place. Conversations like the one with Mrs. Latifa, whom Precious met very rarely, allowed her to have even more energy and motivation in her work, because it allowed her to realize that the key to success was in her hands. And for that, she had to not give up. It was already Sunday evening, time to do the weekly accounts, because Precious carefully kept every dollar she earned. She had been saving for 2 years to have enough money for her trip and her studies in the United States. She needed enough money to be able to pay the rent, her tuition fees, enough to eat and feed herself for at least 6 months. This gave her time to find a job and launch her wig business in the United States. By the grace of God, Precious had already been able to have all the money she needed for her trip, by looking for people living in the United States who could help her settle in and take certain steps before her arrival. Precious came across the King USA YouTube channel. At least, that's the name of his YouTube channel. The King USA is a man in his 30s with whom Precious got in touch. The King USA gives advice on how to settle and live in the United States. He also offers paid support for people who need his services. So Precious had been talking with the King USA for the past 5 months, telling him about her travel plans and her expectations of him. This included finding and renting him a beautiful apartment in his name, in a secure neighborhood. Because Precious was aware that, as a woman living alone in the United States, it was essential that her apartment be in a fairly secure neighborhood. She sent the amount of money that the King USA had asked her to pay for everything before her arrival. The King USA even reassured Precious by sending her videos of the magnificent apartment he had rented for her. On the plane again, Precious kept watching videos of her magnificent apartment, which she would be moving into in a few hours. Yes, the big day had arrived, the day of the trip that would change her life. This day she had dreamed of so much, and for which she had worked so hard, was last year. Of course, Precious was traveling in economy class, but she intended to return to Nigeria in first class. And why not by private jet? She had dreams full of her head, and was determined to make them come true. After several long hours of flying, which seemed like an eternity, Precious finally landed in Dallas, Texas. She opted for this state because in Dallas, the cost of living is still quite affordable compared to other states such as New York or Los Angeles, where Precious would have had difficulty finding accommodation because her means were not very substantial. As agreed, King USA went to pick up Precious at the airport. Then he suggested that Precious go get a bite to eat at a restaurant, as he had just gotten off work and hadn't eaten since the morning. Precious was also feeling a bit peckish and ordered something to eat. "What company do you work for? And where do you live, exactly?" Precious asked King USA. He answered her embarrassed. "You ask too many indiscreet questions." Precious was shocked and intrigued by King USA's reactions and evasive answers every time she asked him a question. After eating, King USA stopped a taxi, but Precious was very surprised and shocked to hear the name of a neighborhood in the ghetto, which was very badly known for its dangerousness. In the taxi, Precious said to King USA, "Why are you taking me to this dangerous ghetto? This is the neighborhood where I rented you an apartment." "My dearest Precious. What? I told you that I absolutely didn't want to live in this kind of dangerous neighborhood. And you confirmed that my apartment was in a safe neighborhood. What are you playing at? Calm down, my dear. This neighborhood is very safe. And I know people there. No one will hurt you." Precious was so shocked that she couldn't speak until the arrival. When she arrived in the ghetto, Precious almost fainted, because this ghetto represented everything that was bad. A neighborhood that was almost abandoned, with completely stoned people on every corner of the houses, smoking and drinking alcohol. As for the apartment that King USA showed her, it had absolutely nothing to do with the one he had sent her in the many videos. "What is it?" Precious exclaimed, disoriented and on the verge of tears. "What, my dear?" replied King USA. "This is not what I expected. Give me my money back right now. I can't live here." "What money are you talking about? I've already spent it. And know that the amount of money you sent me is not enough to rent an apartment here. It's just the price of a shared apartment. Now I'm informing you that this apartment is mine. And you're going to live in a shared apartment with me. Don't worry, because there are 2 bedrooms. You'll have your own room." Precious was so shocked that she was paralyzed. She felt like she was living a waking nightmare, because she had in no way planned for things to turn out like this. The problem is that she no longer had enough money to hope to rent an apartment or pay for a room in a hotel. Either she agreed to live in a shared apartment with King USA, or she would immediately become one of the many homeless people in the United States. So it was done quickly. She took her suitcases into the room King USA gave her. From the first night, Precious was suddenly awakened by the sound of music and men's voices talking and laughing very loudly. When she came out to see what was happening in the living room, she was shocked to realize that King USA was completely stoned with his friends. They had just come back from a night out. They were smoking, drinking, and much worse. Precious couldn't believe her eyes. She wondered what she had gotten herself into. King USA and his friends had completely empty looks. It was as if they no longer had a soul. They were so high. They shouted to Precious, saying, "Join us, baby. Come have fun with us, you'll love it. Let us welcome you to the United States." Hearing this, Precious ran and locked herself in her room. She was completely terrified and started to pray. But a few minutes later, they knocked very loudly on her door, saying, "Why are you staying locked in your room while you have guests in your house? Come have fun with us. We are going to take good care of you." Precious started crying so much that she was scared and panicking. Since they insisted, and Precious refused to open the door, they broke down her bedroom door. They took Precious out and took her by force to the living room. They forced her to drink alcohol and smoke with them. Then they took turns abusing her for several hours. Precious cried and screamed at the top of her lungs, so much so that she was in pain. But King USA and his group of friends had no mercy for her. After satisfying themselves several times, they took Precious to an abandoned house at the end of the neighborhood. They held him hostage, and he only released her to abuse her. King USA made certain men pay for abusing Precious. King USA and his gang of friends would come and let loose on Precious every day after work. Precious's ordeal lasted for several months. Rather than living the American dream, she found herself living a nightmare, even hell. Precious was so exhausted that he became seriously ill. But King USA and his friends didn't care. He continued to abuse her, even though she was sick. Precious couldn't even set foot in the university she had enrolled in. The plans she had planned, which she had worked very hard for several years, were completely ruined. She was already imagining her sad end. She was sure that King USA and his gang of friends would get rid of her sooner or later, and that no one would ever find her body. In a last burst of hope, fueled by her determination to get out of it at all costs, Precious decided to take the risk of escaping from this hell. So Precious thought for several weeks about a surefire way to escape and free herself from her tormentors. And one evening, while King USA's friends in the room were completely stoned and fell asleep, Precious took advantage and took to her heels. Arriving in a nearby street, she ran towards police officers on patrol and explained to them the ordeal she had been living for more than 10 months. The patrolling police immediately called for reinforcements. And King USA's friends, who were sleeping in the abandoned house, were arrested. And an arrest warrant was issued against King USA. After a week on the run, King USA was found and arrested. Precious, who was really weakened and very sick due to the mistreatment she suffered during these 10 months of hell, was immediately taken to a hospital. She was hospitalized and tested. The test results confirmed that Precious had several STDs, which the men who abused her had transmitted. Agents from the Nigerian embassy in the United States called Precious's parents to let them know that their daughter had been found, as they had reported her missing for 10 months. Precious was sent back to Nigeria, and her plane ticket and hospitalization costs were completely covered by the embassy. This was a huge relief for Precious, who didn't even have $1 left. But her heart was broken, because her dream was to return to Nigeria in first class or on a private jet, with several $1 million in her bank account. But she returned with a broken heart, and her dreams completely shattered. Once in Lagos, in her room, Precious broke all the frames of the Statue of Liberty, and everything that reminded her of the United States. She was traumatized, just hearing the name, United States. Precious vowed never to set foot in the United States again, and even never to leave Nigeria again, because she would never want to risk living the hell she experienced again. King USA was sentenced to 15 years in prison, and her friends were sentenced to 10 years in prison. But that couldn't heal Precious's broken heart, which remains traumatized for life. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and give us a like to encourage us.